It's hard for me to ever go against the Dolphins. I think Mike McDaniel has just turned this team he's turned Hard Rock Stadium into a dance club, is the way I described it over at CBSSports.com. I mean, they lead the league in basically every offensive statistical category, whatever you want to call it. I love what they do in the passing game. I love what they do in terms of being creative in play calling for the run as well. Defensively, maybe there's a couple questions. We saw them go down 14-0 to Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers in the first quarter. Naturally, they're able to rebound and reestablish control of that game. But against the Philadelphia Eagles, I mean, this is a legitimate NFC contender. We're very aware of that. They have all the pieces necessary on the offensive side of the ball. But my eye immediately goes to the defensive side of the ball. I think that Howie Roseman and the Eagles need to be buyers at the trade deadline when it comes to bolstering that secondary. That's the key matchup I'm looking at in this game, is how is Tyreek Hill going to fare against this secondary that's given up a lot of yards? I think that's something to keep an eye on. I find it really hard for me to bet against Mike McDaniel. He's my favorite coach in the NFL. I understand why you want to put the Dolphins as underdogs in Philly, but I'm going to go ahead to take the Dolphins 29-26, a 3-point victory here in Week 7.
The line has moved quite a bit since last night, and I want to give out a bet right now that I did not take last night, but I should have when I was sitting in my hotel room. Sitting up in my room. So, all right, what do we see when Bradley Beal won regular season most point scorer? What we saw is him not passing to his teammates, losing, being a play-in team, doing absolutely nothing, right? I believe it's going to be even better for Jordan Poole. I believe you've already seen multiple clips probably on the internet of his teammates like Denny Abdia
wide open.
being like wide open,
I did
just
see that.
already sick of Jordan Poole, looking at no one but the nylon. That's all he's focused on is wet.
Pool party.
The pool party is here, baby. Last
baddies.
night it was 66-1 for Jordan Poole to be the regular season points leader. It has dropped from 66-1, guys, to 40-1 in one night of action.
Yeah.
We need it, folks. I think there's a real chance for this. I think Jordan Poole could average like 33 points per game.
It's not crazy. He had, 41 last? No, it might have been.
I think it was 40, something like that.
I think it was 41, because I know he had 29 at halftime.
Yes.
And I remember them showing 41 on the graphic, and I don't know if he had more past that, because at that point it was a blowout, and I was watching Sam Houston
I'm
State,
telling you, Ryan, I think it's worth a sprinkle.
What is it, 40-1?
Now, right, today it's 40-1. If I was on the show last night, I would have given out the 66-1. It's where my mind went. We know that Bradley Beal did it just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Jordan Poole is younger, hungrier, with more to prove, going to play in a lot more games than Bradley Beal, going to pass a lot less than Bradley Beal, has nothing to live for except for probably Barcode, the Rose Bar, and buckets.
I am taking Florida State. I'm laying the points, and I'm taking the over in this game. And I'm going to tell you the guy I like in this game is Trey Benson, the running back for Florida State, who had a ridiculous game. What did he go, 211 or something against Virginia Tech in a game that they very much needed him a couple of weeks ago. They jumped out, 22-0 early, allowed Virginia Tech 17 unanswered, and then Trey Benson kind of took over. Last week they pulled it back. But that's because they've got a couple of other running backs, Teofili being one of them, that they've been able to utilize in kind of different run packages. And I think this week Trey Benson is kind of the guy. He's a power back. You grind it out, and especially if Riley Leonard can't go, which I'm leaning towards he's probably not going to. But, who knows? I thought the same thing about Trevor Lawrence tonight. Welcome to football. If he does go, the key to beating Duke is keeping Riley Leonard on the sideline. Like, I hate football cliches, but that is kind of one that works. Duke can't score if he's on the bench. So whether or not he goes, the good news for Florida State is the strength of them defensively is the front line and pressuring quarterbacks. They did it to Tech. They did it to Schrader against Syracuse last week, and they were able to cover in that game as well. So I think whether he goes or not, Florida State's got the advantage by having one of the better defensive lines in football behind Jared Verse, and they've been getting better week by week. But for me, it's going to be run the ball, keep them on the sideline, grind out these long drives. I like the cover, but don't be surprised if we're sweating it out late, not because Florida State can't score more, but because the importance to me is churning out offensive drives and preventing Duke's offense from getting out there. Wear down that defense, just run the ball until they fall out.
I think we're going to see plenty of passing in this game. It's just going to be very highly targeted, and they're going to be very smart about where the passing goes for Trevor Lawrence, which brings me, if I can just go right to my favorite play of the night.
Yes,
can we
you can.
Just go right there?
Go right to it.
Go
my
right
friend.
there, Charge.
Right.
Tell us.
I love Christian Kirk tonight. So his over-under on receptions is 4.5, and I love the anytime touchdown. Let's talk it through, and it's a little bit complicated, but not a lot. I think, even Ryan can keep up with this. You ready?
Oh, my God.
Here we go.
Great shot. Love it.
The outside cornerbacks for the Saints are fantastic. Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo. They combine to allow 2.5 catches per game. That's it. So that's the outside cornerbacks. So what does everybody do? They pound the middle of the field with their slot receivers. That brings us to Christian Kirk, who runs the majority of his routes from the slot. The guy the corner that they use, the Saints use, is a guy named Alontae Taylor. He's their slot cornerback, and he's awful. He's allowed 300 passing yards in his coverage already. That's 14th most in the league. And get this, he's picked on so much, he's seen more targets at him than any player in the league at any position.
Jeez.
51 targets have already come at Alontae Taylor, the slot cornerback, lining up opposite Christian Kirk. There's our 4.5 receptions. Now, there's no Zay Jones on the field. That's going to free up 5 targets per game. Some of that goes to Christian Kirk. And since the opener, Christian Kirk's averaging 6.5 receptions anyway in neutral matchups, this is an extremely positive one. So roll all that together. Alontae Taylor's given up 3 touchdowns in his coverage already. I love the 4.5 receptions. I like the anytime touchdown Christian Kirk as well. I think he's the pivot play in the game tonight, and all of my favorite bets run through him.
And me and PJ were both on them. They take a touchdown lead so what happened was they kicked the field goal. It was they should have covered, right?
Yeah.
And then they get the ball first in overtime, and they score, and they go up a full touchdown. So we're feeling pretty good because the defense is not bad for Sam Houston. They're like 35th in the country. Offense, terrible. Doesn't matter.
Really bad.
First down, FIU, back shoulder throw. It looks like Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams when the kid before, like 3 plays before, went to drop back and the ball just slipped out of his hand.
And they
All
went
of a
for
sudden,
2?
No, they end up
Double overtime.
double overtime. Yeah, they end up getting ball first. They score on like the second play, and Sam Houston's a mess. And then it was dead anyway because the third overtime becomes the 2-point conversion game where it's just the 1 play, 2-point conversion. So we weren't going to get the 5 anyway.